Welcome to this video, The World Remade, charting the course of 19th century imperialism. By 1914, a few nations controlled the globe. The turn of the 20th century marked the peak of modern imperialism, with European powers, the United States, Russia, and Japan, extending their dominance across the world. Imperialism is the domination by one country of the political, economic, or cultural life of another. Colonies were controlled to exploit natural resources and create new markets for manufactured goods. The drivers of imperialism were national ambition and industrial hunger. Economically, European nations needed raw materials and new markets. Politically, empires were a measure of national greatness and power. Imperialism was justified by a belief in European superiority. Racism, social Darwinism, and the civilizing mission were used to support the colonization of non-European people. Imperialism was enabled by overwhelming technological advantages. These included superior arms like the Maxim gun, advanced mobility through the steam engine and railroads, and medical protection like quinine against malaria. As late as 1880, Europeans controlled only 10% of Africa, mainly on the coast. The continent was home to diverse peoples, varied politics, and effective resistance that had kept Europeans largely confined to coastal outposts. The spark for the scramble for Africa was King Leopold's Congo Free State. Exploiting the Congolese for rubber, his regime of terror led to the death of at least 10 million people and triggered a domino effect of colonization. The 1884 Berlin Conference was convened to lay down rules for the division of Africa, fearing war among European nations. The critical omission was the lack of any African representation, sealing the continent's fate. In just over 60 years, the vast majority of the African continent was claimed by European powers. By 1914, only Ethiopia and Liberia remained free nations. South Africa serves as a microcosm of this conflict. The discovery of diamonds and gold led to clashes between indigenous Africans, the Boers, and the British over land and resources. The Boer War from 1899 to 1902 was the first modern total war. It featured guerrilla tactics and British responses, including burning farms and disease-ridden concentration camps. Over 14,000 Black South Africans also died in these camps. By 1914, the forces of imperialism had redrawn the map of the entire globe, creating vast, interconnected empires. The world was truly remade, a global portrait of domination. A lasting legacy of imperialism is the scars of artificial borders. The lines drawn by Europeans disregarded the reality of ethnic and linguistic groups on the ground, laying the groundwork for future conflict and instability. Modern imperialism was driven by a convergence of motive, means, and method. Motivation included industrial economics and racial superiority, the means were technological advantages, and the method was opportunistic seizure and formalized division. Our historical focus has been on industrialization, nationalism, and the race for resources and prestige. Consider the modern relevance. How do national ambition and competition still shape global politics and economic influence today? Think about this question. What motivated 19th century imperialism? And how did national ambition and competition among European powers fuel global expansion? Next, we will focus historically on racial hierarchies, the, quote, civilizing mission, and cultural imperialism. Reflect on the modern relevance of lingering racial stereotypes, systemic inequality, and debates over historical memory and education. Consider, how did the belief in European superiority and ideas like social Darwinism justify imperial rule? And how do those beliefs continue to influence global inequalities? Our historical focus has also included the technology of the era: Maxim guns, steamships, railroads, and telegraphs. What is the modern relevance? How do technological gaps today continue to affect power dynamics between nations? Reflect on this question. In what ways did technological advantages, such as industrial weaponry, transportation, and communication, enable imperial powers to dominate vast regions of Africa and Asia? A key historical focus was the European powers dividing Africa without any African representation. The modern relevance includes ongoing ethnic conflict, political instability, and border disputes rooted in imperial-era decisions. Think about, how did the 1884 Berlin Conference formalize imperial control in Africa, and what long-term consequences did its arbitrary borders create? Finally, we focused historically on the Boer War, British imperial ambition, guerrilla warfare, concentration camps, and civilian suffering. Consider the modern relevance, the civilian impacts of modern conflicts, resistance to foreign control, and debates over empire and accountability. Our final question: what does the Boer War reveal about the realities and costs of imperialism, and how does it challenge the idea that imperialism was purely beneficial?